Hello, and welcome to the Here to Uplift podcast, where we center the stories of impactful changemakers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders who have done the hard work of uplifting themselves through adversity to get where they are today, and now uplift others along the way in their journeys. I'm Lolo Fisher, your host, lover of all things wellness, healing, and empowerment, and I would greatly appreciate if you show us your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. Let's get into it. Today, my special guest is Pamela Jara-Arancibia. In addition to her being an inspiration to many, I feel so grateful to call Pam a friend. This fierce and tenacious woman is the founder of Arancibia Creative Agency and co-founder of a wedding media business with her fiancé. Both started amidst a pandemic. I met Pam at a high-value networking event this past year. She was a panelist speaker for the Modern Day Marketing panel. And there, she dropped tons of gems that we were all writing down, and I'm super excited to have her on the podcast, dropping more gems for us. In this episode, we talk about battling perfectionism, the journey into entrepreneurship after leaving a career in finance, having the right partner in business and life, and how to develop those necessary soft skills for any and every job you go into. The things that stand out to me about Pam in this episode and always in life are her attention to detail, her style and fashion sense that are always on point, and her kindness and grace. I know whether you're watching or listening to this episode, you'll feel it too. So I hope y'all are ready for this. Listen in and listen closely for episode 7 with Pam Jara-Arancibia. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Here to Uplift podcast. I'm here with my girl, Pam Jara-Arancibia, to talk a little bit about not just her business, but how she got to be the amazing person she is today, making moves, making growth steps, and really just figuring out what it looks like to be a woman in business today, especially in industries that we don't always shine in the past, but we're changing that now.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm actually humbled that you would even ask me to be here.
Girl. So when I started coming to the Bay Area, it was just to do these networking events and things. I still don't feel like I've explored enough, but in these networking events, every time you've been there, you stand out to me.
Oh, thank you.
Every single time. And that means a lot because your presence, it's not even just how you dress. Obviously, you are put together, girl. You look good with long curls, everything. But it's a presence thing, and you start getting attracted to people's energies, and your energy was definitely one that I was drawn to.
I love that. I'm really big on energy. I'm very intentional about moving through life with kindness and just being humble. There's a lot of people that I think they put their possessions or the things or their achievements that they have first to try to connect with people or try to make money moves or whatever. But honestly, if I vibe, and I feel the same way. When I first met you, I was this girl, she's hyping me up already. I'm I literally met her a minute ago. We're already at the bar.
That was so true. For context, it was a panel on modern day marketing, right? Yeah. So Pam was speaking on the panel. I was there as an attendee, but I was there really early because I had other meetings. I was supporting some of the folks on the panel, right? So I was sitting at the bar, trying to do some stuff. And as people are coming in, I could sense everybody's nervousness. Everybody that was a panelist. Yeah. I was okay, why is everybody so nervous? Because I'm here give me the information. I want it. And then as soon as we sat down, it just clicked. I was oh yeah, let's get our drink. Yeah. Chat it up.
Definitely.
And everything felt so calm from there. Yeah. It really did.
Yeah. And well, I'm really excited for this podcast because I think what you're doing is really beautiful. I mean, we've already talked about this, you and I, but I feel in this space, there's such a need and such a desire for women to connect because there's representation is so important to me, and I acknowledge that, and I always try to take the opportunity to uplift women in my own way, right? But I think that sharing women's stories is so important because we're all so different.
Right.
And, you know, like my story may resonate with someone, even if it's one person, like,
Right.
you know, it may not resonate with other people. And like, maybe you might interview other girls that something will resonate with someone else. But the point is like, representation matters because when you see someone that you see yourself in or you connect with, or they're going through something that you went through, or they're going through something that you like foresee that you would be going through if you decided to like pursue something or do that scary thing that you're not starting because you don't want to fail, or and then you see these people that failed but they got up and you know and they're still like smiling and like you know and they're women and or they're Latina or they're women of color, you know, and they're successful and they're, you know, like all the ands. I think that's so beautiful. So I'm like so glad that you're doing this. Thank and you. That you're using your efforts and your beautiful like just personality to bring this forward.
Girl, you get it though. You get it. It's like, for me, it's that hope factor. Like when you see that somebody else has done it, even if it's not exactly what you're trying to do, just that somebody's tried some way to forge the path for you. It's like, well, if they put in effort, the more effort I put in, I'm like building on this road. Yeah. So even if I don't accomplish everything I want to accomplish, it's making the way for the person behind me to then do it, to then do it, to then do it. And it makes a difference when we can see ourselves. Like it really does.
Exactly. And then even, you know, and I tell a lot of people this all the time. Like I tell them like, I'm no smarter than you. And I am like no more special than you. I just decided a long time ago to work really hard to get to that point that I wanted to get to. And I always tell girls especially and women, like, you can do it too. Like the only difference between me and maybe someone that hasn't achieved their goals or hasn't achieved that success that they foresee for themselves is that I'm probably working harder. I probably have insomnia this week because
that insomnia though.
You know, but it's just that's really the difference. It's just people that decide to actually do it and work towards it, even if it's chipping a little bit at a time. There's that progress, and I feel like especially in the modern times, everything is like instant gratification, and a lot of people don't want to put in that effort, and a lot of people just want overnight success, and it's not overnight success. And I'm really quick I'm really quick to tell people like, look, you might see me in New York today, but it took me like 5 years to just build a connection to end up, you know,
before you had even heard of me. Like I was working and working.
And people don't like, and especially like with social media and everyone is like posting their highlights and you know, and people don't realize that, and then when they realize that, they're like, oh, I don't want to work hard. You know?
Alexa be trying to listen in on our conversation or something. Dang.
She's like, I heard women empowerment. I'm woman in tech.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think this is great though, because you've had a journey that I'm willing to bet a lot of people probably don't know what like led you to the success that you're seeing today. And then even so, it's what you just said about making that decision. That's probably the lesson in 2022 that I learned the most was it is the mindset and the commitment to action over everything. Yeah. Like commitment to action will always beat something like one project that you did perfectly, because perfection will hold you back. And
it held me back for a long time.
That's what I've been struggling with, girl. Yeah. Okay, wait, tell me. So,
wait, are you a Virgo?
No, I'm a Cancer.
What does that mean? I don't know about
emotional as hell, pretty much.
I'm very emotional too. But
well, yeah, just like I'm really, I'm an empath, so like I can really sense people's energy, feelings, things like that. It has taken me a long time to learn how to take other people's feelings on.
Yeah, as a burden.
I'm like, that's where like the healer side of me comes from. Yoga, dance, meditation, even these conversations. Yeah. Like I want people to heal and like see that there's so much more in them. Than the pain, than the trauma. But at the same time, I definitely struggle still sometimes with connecting with stories and then taking it on myself and like wanting to fix to help. And I'm working on like releasing those attachments. Like, okay, let me try to inspire.
Yeah.
Because you can't fix people. Everybody's got to make the decision for themselves.
Yeah, but that's also just human nature, right? Like, I mean, think about it. When someone, even a friend or anyone, even it could even be a stranger, someone says, "Hey, I need this," or "I need that," automatically, like our brain, our brain is wired to be like, "Oh, okay, let me fix it," or "Let me help you." And so that's just human nature. And so it takes for you to actually acknowledge it and to like actually be conscious of it, to just be like, it's not my problem,
This one's not mine to take on.
But also, like, you can only meet people where they're at, and you can have all the greatest intentions to want to help someone through something, but if they're not ready to go through it, there's just nothing you can do.
It's so true. It's so true. Like, we're human.
Yeah.
We impact each other, but we do not control each other. Everybody still has to make their own decisions at the end of the day. So inspiration is key. Influence, you might have some in one area, and then in another space you're like, I got no influence here. But at the end of the day, it's just like, focus on you, focus on what you can do. But no, it's funny because I think I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm a Virgo, because I am a planner to the max.
Well, like, I'm a Virgo. That's
plan.
plan.
But for me, it's always tied to emotion. Like, I'm planning because I know how it will feel if I'm ill prepared for this, or whatever it might be. Or I'm even thinking like, okay, you're coming over. Let me think about what place you'd be most comfortable with. Yeah. Like, that's where my plans come from, is almost hyper consideration of other people sometimes. But at the same time, like, that's one of the things I like about myself is like, I almost always am thinking about how somebody else will experience my action. So, it's the pros and cons to that.
Yeah, but, definitely.
Okay, I want to get back to the perfectionism piece, but first, we haven't actually talked about what you do. So tell us, what do you do? Tell us about the agency.
Sure. So my name is Pamela, and I own a social media marketing agency that I started during the pandemic, the scariest time to start something new, but I decided to do it. And I also co-found a wedding business with my fiancé, also during the pandemic. And that's what I do now. My background is, and I actually don't know if I told you this, but my background is in finance, which is totally like flip of the coin. Like, when I tell people that is my background, like, they're always shocked. And I don't know if it's because they don't think that I'm smart enough to.
No, actually that doesn't surprise me. I didn't know it, but it doesn't surprise me because you are so intelligent. But keep going. Yeah,
so my background is in finance. So actually, someone yesterday asked me like about my background, and I was like even shocked when I said it out loud. I'm like, yeah, my career was like 10 or 12 years deep in finance, and then I just decided to flip the coin. But in finance, I basically like worked my way up through the corporate ladder. I literally started from the bottom as a teller, and then just based on merit, I just worked my way up through positions. I was a banker, and then I was a loan officer, and then I was an underwriter, and then I was a supervisor, and then I did a little bit of compliance, and then my last job was financial analyst, and then now I'm here. So
Did you enjoy it at the time?
So this is the thing, finance I fell into because it was like my first real office job, and like I was good at it. I never had the intentions of staying. Like, I was in school, I was like figuring stuff out, and then I just was good at it, and I started getting promoted. And then, like, I feel like now the newer generation has so much opportunity because like, they see the potential. Like, you go online and you see all these super young entrepreneurs, where I'm like, you're 18 and you're making millions. Like,
man, nobody told me how to do this.
Nobody told me that was possible, and that's the thing. There's nobody, I didn't know that was a possibility. And we were like conditioned, right? Like, you have to have an office job, you have to work really hard, and you have to work your way up. And that's just the only way, and there's just no other way. Unless like you're, I don't know, like have some other opportunities, or like it's like a family business or whatever, I don't know. But like, that just was never in the cards for me. And so I never pursued that. But like I was just good at my job, and because of my like going through the corporate ladder, I just was content. But I always knew that was not my passion. Like, I wasn't like waking up like super pumped to go to work. Not that I hated my job. I never hated any
just
jobs.
Like level-headed.
Yeah, I was just level-headed. But I always like wanted a little bit more. And I'm a naturally creative person. Like I geek out over like the arts and like writing and words. Like those like are things that like I love. Like I can just like literally geek out over like stuff like that.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to do something. I didn't know how I would ever like achieve it, but so before the pandemic, I was like kind of starting to like plan out my next move, and because people would always like encourage me. I always wanted to do something online. I always wanted to do the YouTube thing and all of that, but I always felt like I wasn't ready, and that's like the Virgo side of me, I guess, which I'm like
never gonna be ready, right?
Never actually gonna be ready. Right. And so I always felt like I need to know enough, and I need to be qualified enough, and I need to, you know, like be prepared to do. My whole thing has always been like, and this is actually why I was so successful in my career, because I was so diligent, and I would like, people knew like if a project gets assigned to Pam, it's going to get done right.
Yes.
You know, so on the flip side, I was like, well, this is a good thing, right? Because, you know, people are praising me because I'm doing this. But on the other side, it was also hindering me from actually pursuing something that I really wanted.
I so resonate.
Right? And I was like, okay, so I want to do this thing, but I got to do it right. And literally, like, I probably spent half a year just deep in research, like, what's an LLC? Like, how do, you know?
Girl, years. Like, I bought every book on an LLC before, like, years before I actually did anything.
How to start like, just, I mean, still have notebooks of, like, my, you know, notes. Like,
oh my gosh, we need to compare notebooks one day. That'd be so funny.
You know, and so I was getting in my own way of just starting. And so when the pandemic happened, Ramin, my fiance, was like, look, either do this thing or just don't, because you're wasting your time. And he's very tough love, but in the beginning...
I appreciate that, though.
Right. I appreciate it now, but in the beginning of our relationship, I was like, what?
Like, what we not gonna do today?
Someone woke up ready to fight. But yeah, I mean, so that's like another story. In the beginning of our relationship, I was not used to that at all, and I would get really butthurt. And then when I actually understood he was coming from a good place, I was like, oh, like pin drop, like, okay.
It was wanting the best for you, and he was seeing a different perspective.
And also like talking about like how we're conditioned. Like I was just conditioned to people being like, oh, you're good job, cool. Like that's great. You know, like no conflict, you know. And when he would explain it to me, he's like, I'd rather you get upset at me, but tell you the truth, honestly. And for some reason, in the beginning, that was so hard for me to like compute in my brain. I was like, I'm literally telling you something because I want you to be excited. That's all I want. I just want you to agree and be happy for me. And that was like my mentality. And I would just not understand where he was coming from. But when I understood that, it was literally like, you know, my brain exploded. And I was like, this person is literally like, because you don't like conflict, you know. We don't like it when people are upset at us or mad at us because of something we said. So, and when I started like realizing like he's willing, like, I mean, especially guys, like they look for every opportunity to not get you upset, you know, not catch you on the wrong side of the bed. Like, I'm like, if he's willing to risk me getting upset at him over him telling me the truth, like that's love.
Yeah.
And like he's looking out for me and looking out for
investment in you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And so I will admit, like sometimes I still get butthurt.
We're human.
But I get over it much quicker now, and I'm like, okay, you're right, I guess.
It doesn't mean the feelings change, but then our rational brain kicks in and it's like, okay, hold on. You're saying this for a reason.
Yeah, so basically he was like the kickstart of it all, and he's always been like, honestly, my number one supporter, and like the reason why I've done a lot of things where, like, I've done it scared, but I've done it because he's been like, do it, you know, you can do it. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right, I can do it. Like, I'll do it. you know.
Yeah. Shout out to Ramin.
Oh.
But we all need that person in our life, whether it's obviously
Yeah.
this is a romantic partner, but a friend, a family member. Like we all need that one person sometimes to like give us that push
Yeah.
and believe in us, like when we're like deep in our thoughts or in focusing, preparing. And you can only prepare so much. Sometimes you just gotta
Honestly,
learn
you're
on the
never
go.
gonna be ready. And that's my thing now. I'm like, you're never going to be ready.
Yeah.
You can never be ready because especially if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, like, oh my gosh, things change left and right.
Yeah.
You're never going to be ready. And
Yeah.
and I was telling someone actually last night, this is that, because they were like, so how did you know when you were ready? Or like, you know, what was like the thing that you decided like, like made you ready to start this like entrepreneurial life? And I was like, honestly, I think that if you have the skills, like, because soft skills are so important and so underrated. Like, if you have the skills to problem solve, and if you have the like communication skills, and you have the leadership skills, like you can navigate through honestly a lot of things in life.
Just
really.
about anything.
Yeah, but if you don't have those skills, then I will agree you're not ready.
Right.
First, you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this. I
Yeah.
like this. What do you think are like the top 3 skills?
Definitely problem solving. I think like critical thinking, and then just being able to remain calm, like under pressure. Because again, like entrepreneurship, like things are so crazy. Like something could be like going really well one day, and then the next day everything comes crashing down. And you know, like you can have a meltdown, but then you have to get over it real quick and just fix things.
Right. And honestly, that's one of the ways that meditation and mindfulness has really helped me. Like even when in my past career, right, when I was working in higher ed, my focus was on social justice education. So I'm handling hate crimes, bias incidents, helping people understand their own cultural identities.
To take on.
So much to take on. But the piece of it that always like got me through, because I had a similar experience where I was invested. Everything I did, 110%, if not more. Yeah. And that wasn't happening around me with a lot of my colleagues. So I was getting the pats on the back. I was getting, can you do more? Can you do this? Can you do that? And
that also feeds ego. And then you kind of stay because you're like, okay, like I feel
I'm really
appreciated.
good at this.
Like I'll stay.
Yeah. And it was part of my passion. And we can get into that later, you know, like it connects to what I do now. But I was putting so much into it. It was also draining me. But the skills themselves that I think people were calling on me for was critical thinking and problem solving. Like there was a lot of people around me who were good at their jobs. Yeah. But
probably
the
even
difference
better
was,
and smarter.
Right. They could check off the list. You want me to handle this process? Okay. Check mark. Okay. Bias crime. We're writing it down. Like, but for me, it was, hey, this is a continued problem that I'm seeing in our conduct system. So let's critical think to see how do we solve the problem proactively rather than reactively, so we don't have so much paperwork to be filing and that this incident doesn't keep happening again. So then I started doing a lot more of the programming side. So I was doing leadership workshops, unconscious bias workshops, thinking about all these different layers of identity inclusion for staff, for students, faculty, all the things. But at that point, and this is at multiple spaces because every university I worked at, it felt like I was almost doing the same thing. Like, y'all are just responding. Passing you along. You're like, just reacting and responding to these DEI issues, but like nobody was taking a proactive approach. So creative thinking, problem solving, I'm saying creative because creative and critical thinking, but it's the difference in, hey, I read this in a book. Let's give this a try, to be like, hey, I read this in a book. How does this apply to our population, the people we're serving, and what can we do differently to like make it work for us?
And not get comfortable, because I feel like, especially like in higher ed and even some corporate companies. Like I've worked in fintech companies and I've also worked in financial institutions where they were super old school. Like, I mean, 60 plus years in business, like nothing's going to change. The system is like 50 years old. Like, why fix it if it's not broken, kind of thing, you know? And you're just like, literally you could save so much money and time if you just make the upfront investment. But yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, and being willing to know, like, hey, we're going to try this thing and it may not work.
Yeah.
But that, I would say, I'm glad, like, you brought up these soft skills, because if there's anybody, like, who might be listening to this that is, you know, in that 9 to 5 still, like, you have this thing you want to take on as an entrepreneur, or maybe you started it and it's like that side hustle right now, just keep building those skills so that whenever you do feel that pull in the gut to be like, okay, I'm ready to do my own thing. Like, I'm ready to take off. Those skills, you don't lose them. Like, the ability to critical think, to creative problem solve, it works for you and your agency just as much as whatever business you're working for or serving right now.
Yeah.
It's just redirecting your energy.
And even if it's like, you know, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. And even if entrepreneurship is not for you, you know, soft skills can take you anywhere through your career. You know, so yeah, that's something that's so important.
It's how you level up.
Yeah.
How you level up. Okay, so you had that kickstart though from Ramin. So pandemic comes, you're like, it's time to do it. Then what?
Then I just started grinding and like, and then I'm always.
Did you go full force? Did you quit and start?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. She said no fear.
Yeah.
No fear.
And it's actually so it's actually funny because Ramin at first quit his job.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So
hold
we
on,
both.
hold on.
So
Y'all
we
both
did a lot
quit
of
your
scary
full-time
things
jobs,
during the pandemic.
started off your own businesses as entrepreneurs and bought a house at this time. Like,
yes, girl. We were just like, let's do this.
we're doing the thing. We're doing it.
If it crashes and burns, at least we got each other.
At least we have each other. But it didn't crash and burn. Okay,
No,
I interrupted. Keep going.
Well,
keep
yeah.
going.
Okay. So first, so very early on in the pandemic, we had plans to buy a home, but it was something like, okay, we're gonna plan for it. You know, like now is not the time. And during the beginning of the pandemic, I mean, it was crazy. Like nobody wanted to invest. Nobody wanted to take a risk. Everybody was losing their jobs. Like interest rates were so low, and Ramin's family like pushed us, and they were like, "This is your time." Like, and we're so glad that we actually did it because, like, I mean, it was just such an amazing opportunity for us, and like we're so glad that we're homeowners now. And yeah, but it was just really scary. I mean, buying a home during a pandemic, not knowing if tomorrow I'm gonna get laid off and he's gonna get laid off. We were like hoping, you know, like this was the right move. We almost didn't. And then Ramin, he worked in construction as a project manager. And again, like he had a similar kind of path. It wasn't obviously corporate, but he, like, you know, his family is in construction. They have their own firms and like have had success. And, you know, like it's just like the tried and true way to, you know, be successful. And that was the path that he was going down. But it was nothing that, again, he was passionate about. Like he wasn't excited to, you know, build that business. And he knew that it was the right thing to do, quote unquote. You know, it was the sure way to be successful, but it was not something that filled his cup, you know. And so, funny story about him, how we bought our first camera during the pandemic. Literally in the middle of nowhere, we found this this guy on Facebook Marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, it was like the first camera that he was gonna use ever. Because he bought the camera to help me.
Gotcha.
So that he could help me create content for like, you know, my content creation. And so we went and met this guy who was, I think, in like San Diego or something. We literally met halfway at this like super sketchy like gas station in the middle of nowhere. We were like, we're either gonna get killed or we're gonna come out with a camera.
And a great story.
Yeah, and a really great story. So he's also like very creative and like and he's always loved photography and videography. So that kind of, I think, ignited his passion for it. And so one day, like, he came home like in the middle of the day, and I was working from home, and I like saw him through the Nest camera, and I'm like, I think he quit his job. It's like he comes home at 7 p.m. Like, why is he coming home at noon? And sure enough, like he just quit his job, and but he was also already doing, like, he was taking clients as a photographer already, and like, you know, and so then he just started doing that full time. And then for me, I also did the same thing. Shortly after, And then for me, again, like education is always really big for me. Even though like I obviously decided to like start it and like not get it in my way, but I'm always, even still, like I'm still a work in progress. I'm always learning, and if I ever don't know something, I'll look it up and teach myself. If there's a course I can take, I'll take it. Like if there's a master class I can take, like I'm all about that, like continual growth. And I think that's been like a really big part of my success, and you know, like me being able to level up, because I'm not afraid to ask stupid questions. Like I'm always asking why, or like how, I don't get it. How does this work? You know? And I'm also like aware that, you know, I don't have the 10, 12 years of experience that I had in finance, so I have to work, and I'm also not in my 20s anymore, you know. So I don't have that luxury of like taking my time to get to that point, so I have to like do whatever I can and take in whatever I can for myself, right? Because it's my business, and at the end of the day, whatever investments I make into it, it goes right back to me. So why not?
Yes, I think that's a whole nother level of self-love that we don't talk about. Like being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, having a small business, whatever that layer is, like it's an act of self-love to say yes to yourself, to go for it, and then to keep investing in that business, because it's like our baby. Like when we started, it really is. It's like, all right, here's my baby. I'm like putting all my time into it. That baby may get on my nerves sometimes. I may go through some hard times, but you have to nurture it. You have to give it that attention, and it may, now that I related to a baby, this sounds terrible, but it may not always succeed in the way you originally planned for it to.
Oh yeah, of course. Like if you have kids,
giving that to yourself and investing in yourself and your dreams will never go to waste.
Definitely. I mean, I don't have kids of my own, but like, you know, I have siblings and they have kids, and I have friends who have kids. But I mean, your kids don't always listen to you. That you can tell them turn left, they're going to turn right, you know, and then now you got to figure out like how you're going to get them to go to the left, because the right, there's oncoming traffic.
But because they know that you invested in them for however long, you cared about them, when they make that mistake, the hope is that they come back knowing like, they put that time into me. Like that's still my mama, still my auntie, whatever it is, you know?
Definitely.
So, okay. So why social media, marketing, fashion, these layers? What made you choose these?
So social media, because I don't know, I just gravitated towards it. It was a way for me to be creative. It started out, before I started it as a business, it was just like a creative outlet for me. I think nowadays it's the easiest way for you to connect with other creators, other people who are creative, and just have a creative outlet. And even if like, I don't know, like even before because like my Instagram before, I had a whole different Instagram before my professional one now. But even then, like I was always posting the super artsy photos, you know, and that was just my, like, it made me feel good, you know, like I would take a photo and like do some filters or whatever, take it in a certain angle that I thought was like so cool. And now I'm like, what?
You know, we're not going to look back. We're just, we grew from it.
Those original Instagram filters, wow. You know, but it was just something that just brought me joy, and you know, like, and then also like on social media, like being able to have the opportunity to like connect with people that were in the same headspace that I wouldn't have otherwise met. Like during the pandemic, like I met so many friends that today are like my close friends, like my really good friends. And just like you and I, you know, like I would meet people online, and it was like I felt like I knew them for forever. And I feel like I'm really lucky in the sense that I've fortunately never have come across like meeting other women in like this space who, at least to my knowledge, like are catty or like have some sort of jealousy or whatever. Like there's never been like any kind of tension like that, at least that, again, I'm aware of.
I think that has to do with your energy, honestly. I think you're attracting like-minded energy. Because I definitely see it for other people. I'm hearing stories of people that have been working in social media marketing, PR work.
I've heard it, and that's why I say like I feel like I'm so lucky. Like, and I acknowledge that every day. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm so grateful for everything. And I'm really lucky to have the people that I have in my life and the friends, like my circle. Like I'm so grateful that, like, even just like before coming here, I sent a voice memo to one of my friends that like I met her through Instagram.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, girl, I'm going to this podcast. I'm kind of nervous. I hope I don't freeze. And then she came back real quick and was like, girl, you are that girl. Like you have no other, like, you know, choice to be that girl. And she was like, TikTok audio reference. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm like so grateful for her to just like come real quick and not, you know, because it's easy, like, especially women, right? Like, we're conditioned to be like, no, that's a competition. Like, why is she going on how come I'm not going on a podcast? Like, why does she get to go there? And how come she's going to New York? And I, you know, and so for me, like, I never see anyone as a competition. And I'm always like grateful for whatever I have. And then also so happy to see people around me, whether I'm close to them or not. Like I'm so happy to see them win. Like even if it's someone that is like quote unquote my competition is doing the same thing that I am, and they get this opportunity that I would kill for. Like, girl, I'm happy for you because you know what? I'm next.
Right, I'm next. Tell me more about it. How do I join you next time?
Yeah,
like,
And so with like New York Fashion Week, like. I mean, I just love fashion, so that's like just a given. But also, like, again, like you're saying, like I attract, like it's my energy and I attract people, and I agree because, like, the actually funny way of how I ended up going to New York Fashion Week was because, one of my friends, referred me to Annie, who's the creator of Creators Who Hustle founder. And she needed someone to go to New York Fashion Week to go help her, like be her assistant and create content and all that stuff. And so literally it was like 5 days before the trip. Wow. And I met Annie through WhatsApp, like voice memo. Yeah, and so I was like, again, like the energy was right. Yeah. Like I didn't feel any like weird vibes. Yeah, opportunity was there, and like everything that she like represented and stood for. I was like, yes, like woman empowerment. Like you're not like about the drama. Like you don't like, you know, because and like I laugh about it and I tease her now. I was like, you literally told me all the reasons not to go. And you told me, like, she was like, you know, I don't want girls who are going to be drama. I don't want like, I need a leader. I don't need someone who, like, is afraid to, like, you know, like, huddle the group and, like, say, like, okay, we got to go. You know, like, I don't need someone that, like, is going to be afraid to, like, take command. And then she was like, so if all of that scares you, then I don't want you. And I was like, okay, like anything else. Bet. I was like, flights are coming out of San Jose.
You're like, here's my action step.
Right. So, and again, like I met her in person and we kicked it off, and now I'm like part of the team. And
I love that.
So I think like everything, I don't want to say like it just happened and like it fell on my lap. I feel like, yes, I'm grateful, and yes, I have like had the privilege to like have these opportunities, but I also feel like I've worked really hard to like manifest these opportunities and manifest these like people in my life and attract these opportunities to my life. And again, like, you know, maybe like something that like some goals are like gonna reach me this year and some goals are gonna reach me in 10 years. I don't know, but whatever I'm doing today is what's gonna get me closer to each of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with thinking about social media marketing, like, is there a level to which you lose authenticity in curated content?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about that. Like, I'm like hype. I'm like, yes, New York Fashion Week. But when I look at New York Fashion Week, like I know you, Christina, like multiple people that I've talked to that have experienced it. And actually, somebody else I did on the podcast walked in New York Fashion Week.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Episode 2. But thinking about these conversations, like I get to know you all and what that experience is like for you. But when I just look up New York Fashion Week, I feel like that's a very different experience because everything just feels curated. This is what they want me to understand from their brand, but like what was that person's experience like? I don't always get. But I feel like I did get that with your content that you shared from New York Fashion Week and going. So like, I know that's one example, but in general, I'm like very curious, how do you stay authentic when you are curating content?
I think it's just the mindset. So yes, you're right. Like, I mean, New York Fashion Week, and I mean, just the industry, like it's very like catty, and it's just the facts, you know, like people, like you have to look a certain way, you have to say the certain things, and you know, it's very curated, and like you almost lose your soul. But at the core of it is the art, and at the core of it, that's like what drives me to want to be a part of it. But the reason why I think that probably like you had a different perspective from my content when I went to New York Fashion Week is because I went with Creators Who Hustle, and Annie, the founder, like that was her goal, honestly. Like she had been a part of the fashion industry for like a decade, and she decided to, you know, because historically only influencers get to go. And like you have to have a significant amount of followers, or you have to be a celebrity, or you have to, you know, buy your super expensive ticket to just go to one show. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like you can look it up, like how much it costs to go to one show. It's thousands of dollars to go to one show. It's not like Fashion Week. Like you don't get to go to all the shows. You one show, maybe.
There's so many happening all at once.
Yeah.
Like, whew.
And so for Annie, again, like that's why her and I connected, because our values were the same. And so for her, she was like, I want to take whoever wants to go, and I want to make this a woman empowerment thing. And I want us to go together to experience New York Fashion Week, but also to connect with each other, because, you know, we're also entrepreneurs, or we're trying to start up something and like network and, you know, have each other's back. And so I think that's like the different dynamic that you probably haven't seen before in New York Fashion Week. And I think that's why she's also been like successful in continuing the trip and having so much interest. Like we have a wait list for the next trip. So to answer your question, I mean, it's really easy to get lost in social media. And even like when I always started with the intention to be authentic and to be myself, and to, you know, just like always bring value, whatever it was that I was doing. In the beginning, I still didn't know like that I was going to have an agency. I was like, I don't know what that end point is. It might be a product, it might be a business, I don't know, but I'm going to be professional from day one, and I'm going to work towards building my personal brand to get to that point. But even with me having that intention of being authentic, like I would go on stories, and then I would unintentionally try to sound like all the other influencer girls, and then Ramin again would be really, really quick to call me out and be like, "Why do you sound like that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like sound like what?" And he'd be like, "You sound weird." I'm like, "I'm just talking." Yeah, and to me, I'm like, "This is totally normal." And he's like, "No, you sound weird. What are you doing?"
You don't even realize sometimes that you're just mimicking what you're seeing.
Yeah. And so he was like, "Just be yourself. What are you doing?" And so then, you know, like that happened a couple more times, and I was like, okay, I need to like pull it together, because, you know, this is not my intention. Yeah. But yeah, you know, I think that you just have to be aware of it, and you have to, you know, just like, again, like work towards it. You have to put in the work, and it might not be natural. But I think if your intention is to be authentic, and your intention is to bring value and to build a community, you're going to be hyper aware of that, and you're going to be like checking yourself. And you should check yourself. I try to check myself. Like, is this bringing value? Is this just for my self gratification, or am I actually providing value? Is like what I'm sharing like going to help at least one person? Right. And if not, then I should rethink what I'm sharing. You know, why am I here? Because literally, like, and I'm always like, again, very grateful for the opportunities that I have, and even the platform, although it's not very big, I'm like grateful that I have people who, if I show up on stories or I show up and I post something, they show up for me, you know, and like, I'm like, it could be 2 people, it could be 20 people. I'm just in awe. Like, you guys love me.
It's the engagement and impact over like quantity of followers. It's like, do I actually know you? Am I making a connection with these folks? And the the authenticity in your content translates to meaningful relationships rather than just, ooh, I'm putting out things, it looks pretty, so here's all these people following. It's like, no, that's the difference. Like,
and also opportunities.
People feel like they know you, and then
and also opportunities. I mean, again, like, I don't have a very big platform. Like, I'm like, I think 3,500 or 3,700. I don't even know. I don't keep track. But I know girls who have like 10 times as many followers as me, and they're just posting content for free. And I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you know, I mean, if it's just a creative outlet, fine. I'm not one to judge, but like, if your intention is to make something out of this, like, what are you doing? Like, reset your intentions. Like, are you providing value? If so, like, you know, and then also like, be smart. Like, if your intentions are to make money out of this, or make this a business, like, and if you don't know how to do this, like, get mentors or get education, and like, there's so much on the internet. Like, you literally can just find something on YouTube or on Google, or find a free masterclass, pay for masterclass, you know, there's so much out there. But I guess to go back to your point, like, it's really easy to lose that authenticity, and it's really easy to get lost in, especially when you're like deep into it. So I feel like it's a good practice to kind of step back sometimes and question things like, what am I doing? Is this, even for me, like, again, like, Ramin is like, he's always like at the core of everything, which I'm like so grateful for him, because he's taught me a lot, and I'm like, I recognize that. But like, in the beginning, I would be like, I would get invited to things, or I would get invited to participate in projects or things, and I'd be like, oh, this is so cool. Like, they were fun stuff, cool events. And then he'd be like, but is it getting you closer to your goal? Or is it just a fun thing to do? Like, you know, be focused. Like, is this gonna help you? Like, are you gonna meet people that are gonna, you know, like, what is the purpose of this? And if it's not serving you, don't go. And I would be like, but it's fun and this and that. And he'd be like, well, if you want to go just because to have fun, fine. But if your goal is to go and to have it be something that's going to help you in your career or with your goal, then, you know, like, think about it twice. And so, again, like, I think that's the same thing with like social and like personal branding and like showing up on socials. Like, think about it. Like, are you posting something because everyone is posting it? Is it just a TikTok trend? Is it what everyone is doing? Or is it gonna help you get your message across? Is it gonna help you like move towards your goal, or move towards the goal of helping other people move towards their goal? If that's your goal, you know, like, what are the intentions, and what's it gonna give back to you, so that you can also come back with more?
Come back with more. I like that. Okay, I'm gonna take a jump back to when we said perfectionism.
Yes.
And how we can really let perfectionism get in our own way, like our habits of perfectionism. So I want to know some of these challenges you've experienced. Perfectionism was one of them, it sounds like, and like actually just stopping it from taking action. But were there other things like along the way to getting where you are now, where you can make those decisions, you can take command and collaborate with people, build these brands? Like, what were the challenges that led you to get there?
I mean, definitely perfectionism was a big one. Like I said, it hindered me from actually even starting. Like, my biggest regret today is not starting sooner. Like, if I would have started this, like, when I first had the idea, girl, I would be, like, on another level. I'm like, that is just my biggest regret. And again, like, you're never going to be ready. Just do it. And my other obstacle was that I'm actually like a really introverted person. Like, I'm very shy. Like, naturally, I'm very shy. And like, growing up, I was shy to the core, like to the point where like my mom would go out for groceries and people would say hi to her, and they would say hi to me, like 5-6-year-old Pamela, and I would like be hiding behind her leg, like not making eye contact with the person. Like, that, I couldn't even make eye contact with someone. And then that, like, you know, like, I remember like in 3rd grade, we had to like do a little presentation. It was like 3-minute presentation in front of the class. And it was like, we had to talk about an inanimate object or something. And I swear, I remember going up there, getting all flushed up, my ears were burning. I don't even know what I said, and then the rest I don't know. Like, you know. And like, you know, like as an adolescent, like that was just like that kept happening. And like as an adolescent, like I would be like in group settings, and I was okay to be in the group and be listening to other people talk and give their opinions and whatever. But like as soon as someone was like, "Oh, Pam, what do you think?" I would just be like, "Why are you doing this to me?" Like, you know, I would rather in that moment like bury myself alive than to like feel all of the eyes on me.
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't. I could tell that you were like maybe more reserved, but I had no idea.
Yeah, I was so shy. But, you know, like going through like my childhood and like my adolescent, like I always knew like this isn't what I want. Like I don't want to be shy. And I would always like, I'm very observant, so I would always like recognize people in a room that were like confident or like could walk in and like demand respect just by their presence. And I would be like, I would always be like inspired, and I would always be like, I want to be like that one day. Like one day that's gonna be me. Like right now I could never, but like one day, like, you know, one day I'm gonna get my shit together and like that's gonna be me, you know. And so that was like growing up my intention. And so when I went to college, I had to take a class, and I remember it was like an elective, so it was something like a science or a speech class, and I was like, well, I hate science, so I'm not gonna take another science class. And then it was speech, so I was like, okay, I mean, I guess this is the moment, you know, moment of truth. And so I took the class, and like it was a public speaking like 101 or something, or whatever. And like my first speech, again, like I was like my hands like were shaking, and like my voice was like shaking, and like but I got through it. And to my surprise, like my first speech, I got really good feedback from my speech teacher, and she was like, "You're really good, you know, like you just need to work on a couple things, this and that. But it's good, you know." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I thought for sure she was gonna have like super like bad criticism, and when it was gonna tell you, why are you even signed up for this class? Like
we are so much harder on ourselves.
Yeah, and so I ended up going through with the class. I got an A, and then I was like, this is fun. Like, and so then I took like, I think 5 or 6 other speech classes, and I loved it. And then I just got like comfortable, and I felt like, you know, again, this is why like I tell people like I'm no smarter and I'm no more special. I just decided to put in the work because I wasn't naturally good at speaking. I wasn't naturally good at being able to articulate what I wanted to say. Like, I mean, I could barely get a word out, but I had to learn, and I decided like a long time ago that I was one day gonna do it, and then that one day came, and I put in the work, and so that's why like I share that with people, especially women, because again, like we're conditioned to stay quiet, not have opinions, don't like you know go against the grain.
Was that cultural for you too? Okay.
Yeah, I'm Hispanic, so that's like very much like our culture. Like, don't go against the grain. Like, you know, don't stir the pot. You know, like
don't stir the pot. That phrase always bothered me.
Yeah, like
it's gonna get stirred, all right.
Yeah, and so, you know, like growing up, like I always had questions. Like I always was the kid was like, why? Like, how come it's going like this? Or why do we have to do it like this? Like, and also I was just genuinely curious. Like, why do things work the way they do? Because I want to understand them so I can do them right. But yeah, so that was, and it continues to be a struggle for me. Like, you know, public speaking after the pandemic, like I didn't realize like I'm like at one. I'm back to the beginning, and I'm like, okay, so this doesn't mean I fail. I mean, it doesn't mean I failed. It just means I have to work a little bit harder, because public speaking comes naturally to some people, and I can admire that. But also, like, that doesn't mean that I can't achieve it. It doesn't mean that I can't be that charismatic, and I can't, you know, get in front of a crowd and articulate and sound like a professional. Like, just because you can't do something today doesn't mean that you're not able to in the future. So yeah, I think those are the two main things that like for me, like those have been my challenges. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's something that I know a lot of people can resonate with. Just figuring out, do you have to be an entrepreneur? Or I should say, do you have to be extroverted to be an entrepreneur? I think it becomes a question for a lot of folks. But if you have that spark in you, it really doesn't matter whether you're introverted, extroverted. Like, I consider myself an ambivert. I need an equal amount of time with people as I do alone, like for my introspection and reflection time. But I see so many introverts say no to their dreams because they don't feel like they can bring people in or connect the same way. And it's like, no, you just have to figure out, where do you connect from? So I think social media is a great tool, especially for introverts. If like you don't want to be in that big crowd of people right away, like start by connecting with people online.
And you don't have to be a public speaker. Like just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you're signing up for public speaking. Like if you want to, hey, go ahead. But doesn't mean, it's not a one size fits all. Like there's so many levels and dimensions of entrepreneurship. You can literally work from your basement and be a millionaire.
Tis true. I think that people connection is so important for anybody, I would say, whose business is a service. Right? But we don't have to go to every networking event to make those connections. Like for me, I love it because it fills my cup, but I used to hate networking events because it just felt overwhelming for me.
And what's the difference now?
Me. I've done a lot of healing myself to where I am not trying to people please so much. It's like the connections are not about, I want people to like me or I want to see how I'm represented. Like I do care about how I represent myself, but it's so much more that like, I know who I am now. I know that I'm constantly evolving and learning and that nothing's quite figured out. So when I go to a networking event now, it's like, ooh, I want to get to know people. And I think before it was like, I need to go meet people to make something happen or to find a mentor. Like I was never in it to just be like, I want to sell something. That's never been me. But it was definitely in the sense of like, how are people thinking of me? And now I'm going into the space like, what can I learn from these folks here? And those relationships start naturally when you're coming from a place of like getting to know folks rather than I guess trying to always give something or sell something.
The dynamic is so important. And I mean, and like, so I learned this from speech class, right? So like, I remember one time my professor told us about like the importance of communication, and he gave an example. He's like, so I had a girlfriend, and she asked me if I wanted to go to dinner with her parents, and I said, and I was looking on my phone to see if I was available for that date. And the pause, she took it as I didn't want to go. I wasn't interested. I didn't respect her and her family. But what I was doing was I was interested. Obviously, I was trying to see if I was available or if I could make myself available to go. So like, you know, when we have these like biased opinions and assumptions where you're like going in and you're like, oh, well, that person didn't talk to me because they don't like me. It's like but you didn't even talk to them. Like you did, like
what did you do?
Right.
One,
you know, like
two,
did you go in?
Right.
Did you go in with like as a, you know, like with service, or did you go in to like try to learn about them? Maybe they didn't even see you. Maybe they didn't even know you were there. You know, and so like perspective is so important, and then also, like just the communication like piece. Like his point was like, you know, had she like, and then I guess she got quiet and got upset or whatever. But he was like, had she asked me like, you know, you don't want to go, or like what's going on? Like we would have had a short conversation, figured it out, done deal. But she made assumptions and then she got in her feels, you know. So like we do that a lot, and it's just lack of communication, and especially in relationships, especially in friendships, even with people we don't know, or also even online. Like, oh, they didn't like my post, so they're not my friends. They must not support me. But like this person has like a million things going on. They literally didn't even see your post, you know, like
you never know. You never know. We make assumptions so quickly. And I think that actually relates to what you were saying earlier of like Ramin giving you the hard truth sometimes, and like you get in your feels, but then it's like, okay, well, I'd like, no, that was of my best interest. So let me actually like think about that perspective. It's the same thing that we do in our own minds. Like we wrestle with ourselves sometimes, but you're going to have feelings because you're human, but like get out of your feels and
recognize them.
Recognize it so that you can actually just shift perspective.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that your feelings are wrong ever. Your feelings are valid always.
Yeah.
But I should say, you want to be able to respond to things without reacting to them.
Yeah.
Reactions are out of control. Responses are with awareness, with a choice. And I think that is one of those things, and I'm like making a jump a little bit, but I think that's one of those things that you see emotional maturity come into place. That's how I know. Yeah, it's like, that's how I know when somebody has been through some stuff, one, but also has like made that choice to grow in their emotional maturity and emotional intelligence. Yeah. And to be honest, that's one of those things that attracts me to other like women who are doing the work, is like, I want to know what your emotional maturity is like too, because you can be making money. Yeah. But
if you're a hot mess in your relationships, then that's not pretty.
That doesn't attract me, because there could still be a whole lot of drama behind the money. Like, I'm attracted to people that have this different level of emotional maturity that, like, when things get hard, I know we can have a conversation about it. If we have a disagreement, if we become colleagues,
disagreements
business
are
partners,
fine.
who knows,
You
best
talk
friends, in any relationship, conflict is going to happen.
Yeah.
But how do you handle that conflict? And are you taking it with an approach of care and perspective?
Yeah. And also, like, I'll add to that, like, definitely like emotional maturity. But I think like sometimes people see conflict and they are real quick to like want to prove their point and be like, this is why you're wrong, because I'm right and because of these things. But people are not quick to just be like, well, this is what I think, but like, tell me why you think that. Like, I just want to understand.
Right.
Like, because maybe once I understand, I'll have a different perspective. And again, like, that's maturity, right? It's you being able to identify like, well, this is hard set how I've been in my thinking, but tell me more. Yeah. And if it makes sense, I might change my mind, and it's okay. You know, like, this doesn't have to be the way. It's not my way or the highway. Right. And like, I again, like, early on in my early 20s, like, that wasn't always my mentality. And I'm so grateful that I was able to develop that mentality, where I was like, it's okay for me to have had this mindset and then learn and then change my mindset. Like, there's nothing wrong with you being like, actually, I was wrong. Like, I know I said that on a podcast, but now I know better. Right. And now this is what I think, because I learned that that was actually the way. You know? Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's one I'm going to be chewing on later, for sure. For sure. I'm like, ooh, I was not expecting to talk about emotional maturity today, but now I'm thinking about all my relationships and friendships, and I'm like, ooh, we're going to reflect on that one more. Okay. It's getting close to time, so I have 2 more questions for you to finish us.
All right.
The first one being, I really want you to talk to that young girl right now, fresh out of high school, trying to figure out, do I go with this career track that I know is stable, or do I go for this dream that I have? Yeah.
Well, that's a hard one, because, you know, I feel like I was that young girl and I didn't have the luxuries. So, and I don't think I shared this, my mom was a single mom. My parents split up when I was a teenager. And so I didn't have the luxuries to have a support system where I was like, yes, I'm going to go to a 4-year college. Everything's going to be paid for, you know, like, going to be a full-time student. You know, I had to work. I had to support my mom. You know, I had to support her in more ways than just financially, because she's, you know, we immigrated to this country, and so I also had to be like her emotional support system. I also had to be her translator. I also had to be her accountant. I had to be, you know, basically the manager of her life, a lot of things. And so for me to look back at like a 17-year-old me and to be like, sure, go for your goals and dreams, like, go for it. And then in the back of it be like, but I'm also like turning my back on my mom. Like, that was not a luxury for me. Like, I couldn't afford to do that. Yeah. So I would say, like, if you have the luxury, seize the day, girl. Seize the day, because we don't all have those opportunities. And being able to identify that you're in that position to be like, yeah, I have my family and my mom and dad, or my mom or my dad, if they're financially secure, to go and pursue something and have their full support, you know, like, go for it. You have that opportunity, and it could be something really great. But if you don't lose sight of the goal and work towards getting to the time and place where that opportunity would come up again, and then take that opportunity. Because that happened to me. You know, like I said, I didn't have that opportunity. I had to work and, you know, to help my mom. And then when the opportunity was there, I was like, it's mine.
Yes. It's what you said earlier. Just because you can't do it now, you can't see yourself doing it now, it does not mean it's a never.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. And I was kind of hoping that, you know, you would be able to bring this like different light and different perspective, because it goes back to representation. We all have these different stories, different backgrounds, that people don't know what our life is like when they see us on social media, right? Like not everybody's telling, like, here's what young Lola was at 6 years old, right? Like
at 4 years old.
But that's like the whole point of this podcast is like, these stories are so important, because we don't know who's out there right now that is like, I so badly have this dream, but right now people are depending on me. Right now I'm in survival mode. Right now is not always. Like, that's the big key. Your right now is not your forever. So your right now, make it purposeful, but don't ever lose sight or give up on those dreams, even if it's not a now moment. There's potential. Definitely. There's always potential.
I agree.
Okay. Last question. What do you want Pam to be known for 5 years from now?
Well, that's a tough one, because
I always finish with the tough ones, girl.
Yeah, I know. I mean, because this is the thing, like, I'm so driven to be successful in my business, so I obviously want to be known for being a successful businesswoman, but also, like, I know that's just my ego, you know, like, and again, I can recognize that, like, I can recognize that I'm just like, I want to be known because I got making bank, you know, but also I want to be known for my kindness and being humble, you know, even if I am very successful, I don't want to, like you said, be like, hi, I'm Pamela, I make millions, like, you know, that's not at all. I want to be known for the girl that inspires you, that she is successful, but you know what, she, like, you know, someone that really inspires me is Keanu Reeves. Like, he's such a famous actor. He makes so much money, and a big portion of his earnings, he donates it. He takes like the metro, or wherever he lives in New York or something, right? He takes the metro. He's always like walking on the streets of New York, like giving blankets and stuff to like the homeless. Like, he can literally go to the park and have no one recognize him, because he's so just casual and understated. And like, that's what I want. Like, I want to, yes, be successful, because that gives me, like, that fills me, and like, I'm not afraid to say that. And also because, like, I feel like people are like, either you're really about feeding your ego, or you're not, and there's no in between. And if you're very about like community and giving back, you cannot be successful, and you cannot make money, and like, you are just like money hungry, and I so disagree. And like, I think you can be successful, I think you can make a lot of money, but you can still be a really good person. And I guess that's what I would like to be known for, to be known for, you know, my success, but that didn't like eat me up alive.
Didn't change your values. Like, Pamela's still Pamela. She's here. Like, Thank you. I have no doubts that you'll be known that way, because that's how you come off to me. Absolutely. It's what's the phrase that's like getting talked about more now? It's a humble hustle.
Hustle. Humble brag.
Humble brag. Humble hustle. Like, the success is there, and I think that's one of the most successful people are quiet about their success.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm excited to see how you're leveling up, how you're in this growth stage. To our conversation earlier, we're going to get through this insomnia period and get back to our good sleep, hopefully one of these days. But I know that all that work that you're putting in is for good reason. It's going to pay off. So I'm happy that you're sharing this moment with me, but even more so, I know that there's people listening and watching who are going to be inspired by this. So thank you for sharing your story.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is great.
I love it. And with that, that's a wrap. Good job, girl.
Yay! This was
first
fun.
podcast. Yay.
Thank you for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. New episodes are airing every week with some bonus episodes in between too. So make sure you stay tuned by subscribing, following, liking, and engaging with us to let us know what topics you're most interested in and what might inspire you along this journey. We're going to keep working hard on our end because we are here to uplift not only ourselves, but our community too, and that includes you. So I can't wait for you to hear the next episode. But for now, do your thing, let's get it, and let's keep moving forward. Uplift yourself, friends. You got this.